Now in this video I want to briefly demonstrate how you can use the 3D tools inside Photoshop CS4 Extended to achieve some pretty interesting design effects with some very, very simple shapes. And what we're going to be doing is kind of creating like a logo element that is just a graphic shape that kind of wraps around a sphere. But we want to be able to see the inside and outside of it as well. So here in this blank document, I'm going to go ahead, I've gone ahead and created a new blank layer. And let's zoom out here. I'm going to go inside that layer. Let's grab our pen tool right here in the toolbar. And I'm going to start down here at the bottom left-hand corner. I'm just going to click a point right there. I'm going to come over here roughly to the center of the document. I'm just going to click and drag outward. And if you add the shift key after you that, you can constrain the left and right movement here. I'm just going to draw this out right about there. Then I'm going to bring the point up to the top corner here. Boom, just like that. We'll do the same thing coming back. I'm going to go up here toward the middle, closer to the top, click, drag, hold that shift key down, and just get the element right about there. And again, we'll close the shape out right here at the bottom. So I've got that kind of like a swoosh shape going from the bottom left corner to the top right corner. Well, I'm going to press Command Enter, and that's going to go ahead and activate that path as a selection. I'm going to go over here and choose a color. Now, you don't have to be specific on what color you choose. You can always go back and change it when you want to. But for now, let's go with something kind of a reddish color. And I'm going to press Option Delete. It's going to go ahead and fill that shape inside there. And now we're going to go under the 3D menu and go right here to New Shape from Layer. And we're going to choose Sphere. Now, do make sure that you are on the layer that you want to apply this particular graphic to. So I do want to wrap this graphic around a 3D shape. So with that layer selected, go under the 3D menu, New Shape from Layer, and we'll choose Sphere. And you can see it's gone ahead and generated the sphere and wrapped it around that shape. So you can see if I take my 3D manipulation tool and just move this around, you can see that that graphic is wrapped around. Now, here's the problem. When it created that 3D sphere, but it's filled it with gray. It's showing me the surface of this object, and I don't want it to do that. I actually just want to see this colored graphic and both sides. I want to be able to see through this. And you're going to have to do that it's kind of a masking technique in a sense. And one way to look at it is it's kind of like it's 3D layer masking in a sense is an easy way to put it. So what we're going to do is inside the layers panel right here, we're going to go and double click on the layer, and it will open up that shape layer just like it was a smart object. You can see it's going right there. So there's our original shape that we drew. Well, I'm going to go into the image menu, go down here to duplicate, and we're going to create a duplicate of this file. Inside the layers panel, I'm going to go ahead and hold down the command key when I click the new layer icon here, and you'll see it drops a new layer beneath that active layer. Set my default colors so that black is in the foreground there. I'm just going to press Option Delete, and it will go ahead and fill that background layer with black. Let's highlight the graphic layer. I'm going to lock the transparency, and I'm going to press Command Delete. Since white is set as my background color, I'm going to press Command Delete, and it will fill that shape in with the white. I'm going to go ahead and merge these two layers together, or simply I'm just going to go into the layer menu and go down here to Flatten Image. Now, this is what a layer mask would look like. If we were going to mask this graphic on a full colored layer, we would have a layer mask. The white would reveal it, and the black will hide it. The same principle is going to work on this 3D object. So, as a separate file, we need to go ahead and save this. I'm going to go into the File menu, go to Save As, to the desktop, give it a name. Well, let's call it Shape Mask 1. Do make sure we save it as a PSD Photoshop document on the desktop. Click Save, and there we have it. We can close this. We no longer need it, and we're back to our 3D shape. So, what do we do to mask this out? Well, zoom in here a little bit so we can see what's going on. I'm going to go into the Window menu and open up the 3D panel. Here we've got a number of different tools, and I'll be covering a lot of these over time, but I just want to talk about some specific things right here, right now, and that is this third icon right here. And this allows you to control the surface materials. Here you can control the bump strength, glossiness, shininess. The one we are wanting is this one right here, the opacity. Now this setting will affect the overall opacity of our entire shape. If I take the opacity down, you'll see that the opacity is going down. You can see that object through there a little bit, but it's also messing with the transparency of the entire object. I don't want it to do that. I want it to be remain at 100%. And we're going to look at this menu, or this little icon next to it. Click on that. We're going to go to Load Texture. And we're going to go find that file that we created. And when I click Open, watch what happens. It's going to go in there and it's going to look at that area, and it's going to mask out the sphere that we don't want to see. Using that, like a layer mask, is going to reveal the object in the white area and hide it in the black area. So now if I take my 3D tool and maneuver this around, you can see that we're getting an interesting shape here that I could use as part of a logo or something like that. But there's other things I can do with it. Well, for one thing, it looks a little jagged right up in here in some areas. So what I want to do is go to the very first icon here. We're going to go down here to the anti-alias setting and take it from draft to best. And it should give me a much cleaner render there, as you can see right there. Now, I'll notice a little bit of a highlight around these edges in here. Taking care of that quite simply, you'll notice in the layers panel that we've got a new item here for opacity, and that's that shape mask that we created. If I double click on that, it will open up that file just like it did the actual graphic file earlier. All I'm going to do on this file is go into the filter menu and go to Other and choose Minimum. And you'll see this window here. I'm just going to keep the radius to 1. Very subtle. Notice what happens on the preview here is it chokes it in just a little bit. So click OK, close this, and save those changes. And we get a much cleaner line there, as you can see. So it doesn't have that little bit of anti-aliasing going on there. So you can maneuver this object around and manipulate it with all the 3D tools and make it part of a logo. How cool is that? Well, I just want to show one more version of this, or one more thing you can do with this, and this is kind of cool, is on this document, let's go and grab our brush tool, and let's get us kind of a hard edge brush here. And let's go ahead and make sure we're getting the right blend mode going on here. And let's just give it a color. Let's go with purple this time. Now, all I'm going to do is just kind of randomly kind of brush some lines around here. Not necessarily touching the edges. It's okay if we go outside the top and the bottom, but we don't want to go outside the sides yet. So I've drawn this line out. Let's go and, you know what I did? Let's undo that and make sure we're doing it on a blank layer. So let's just redraw that real quick. Just a random stroke of shapes. It really doesn't matter how you do it or how much you do it, but I think you'll get the idea here in a second. So now we're going to go under the filter menu and go here to Other and choose Offset. And you'll notice that it's offsetting it just a bit. And we're doing the horizontal offset because we want to bring those two edges together that were, those edges that we left blank. So it's just simply sliding it over so we can see those edges. So click OK. Now we're going to take that brush tool and just continue what we were doing. So it's one continuous shape. In fact, these lines here connect to these lines here. So it's really just one continuous shape at this point. So now let's do what we did a moment ago. Go into the 3D menu, New Shape from Layer, Sphere. You don't have to choose Sphere. You can choose any other shape you like. I just like the sphere. Take the 3D tool, maneuver it around. You can see it's nicely wrapped around there. Let's do the exact same thing we did a moment ago. We'll double click the layer in the Layers panel. Create a duplicate of that file. Lock the transparency in, and we're going to fill it with white. So let's bring white to the foreground, press Option Delete. And we need to have the black area to hide, so let's create a new blank layer beneath that one. And we'll press Shift Delete. And for the use, we'll use black. Click OK. So there's our mask file. Let's go over into the layer menu, flatten it, save as. To the desktop, we'll just call it Shape Mask 2. Saved it. Here's our original file. Let's close that. Back to our 3D shape, and let's apply that mask. Open up the 3D panel. Into the Materials section, right down here to the opacity setting, and go to Load Texture. There it is, Shape Mask 2. Open. And there we see we've got a neat kind of 3D effect. You can see right through it and gives you a very, very interesting result. But the point I want you to get here is that you're able to wrap an item, a graphic or anything, around a 3D shape, and then you're able to create a mask so you can hide the actual primitive shape itself, because it's always going to show that grayscale. But by applying a layer mask file, in a sense, where white reveals it and black hides it, you can achieve some very interesting 3D effects. You can actually just zoom this in and get a very interesting effect. Very cool stuff. Let's just finish this off by adding a background color here. I'll do something crazy. Just like that.